Yeah, I can picture it in my mind. David Hasselhoff running down the beach, and of course the Baywatch girls and those montages and everything. Oh my goodness. Well, tonight we are talking to actress Donna D'errico, and you've seen her in shows such as Baywatch and Reno 911 and Married with Children, also the Austin Powers movies, and she's coming to the Chiller Convention this year, April 27th, 28th, and 29th, along with, Robert Loggia and Danny Aiello and Holly Marie Combs and just about anybody who's anybody is at the Chiller Convention. Thanks so much for joining us, Donna.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Thanks for having me.
You know, the Chiller Convention started out years ago as a horror-themed convention, and then somewhere along the way, it became this big celebrity convention, and in fact, a few years ago, Richard Dreyfuss was there. I think Anne Margaret
Really?
was. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I for some reason in my mind have always associated it with horror also, but I gather that's not really the case anymore.
Not really. And you know what? Have you done horror movies?
No, I did one. It was Candyman 3, Day of the Dead.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did that, and so that's the only one really that would go along with a horror theme. But I don't think that really matters anymore. Not a thriller. Apparently, it's just it's a really big. It's the one to attend.
Yeah, it
all
is.
Year.
Although I will say, and I'll just talk about this briefly because I do have an ulterior motive to this interview, because you're going off on this expedition, which is really interesting.
Correct.
But we mentioned Baywatch, of course, and that was, not only a huge television show in America, but all over the world. I mean, what did they say? You used to say it was the biggest show in the world. I don't know. Yeah,
the number one syndicated show in the world.
Right. And back, I should tell our younger listeners, we used to have shows that had, stories and actors in them. We don't have that anymore, really, on television.
Not too much, no.
But you were also on the spin-off show, which was Baywatch Nights.
Correct.
That might be where some of the horror thing comes in.
Yeah, because that was I don't know if you remember that show called Night Stalker.
Yes,
a long time ago. It's not exactly like that, but kind of. I mean, it was more the sci-fi version of Baywatch, and it happened at night, and it was more that kind of genre. It was really David Hasselhoff's pet project and his baby, that show. That's what he really wanted to do. And Angie Harmon was on it, Eddie Cibrian, and they brought me in halfway through their first season, and the whole thing lasted a total of 2 seasons, and then it got canceled, unfortunately. But it was really fun because it was totally different from Baywatch.
I will say this, and I say this with love, Donna. That was the weirdest show in the world.
It was pretty weird.
Because
it was weird. I might have watched a couple of episodes, completed, edited episodes, but for the most part, I really didn't watch it. All I know is that it was fun to work on. The cast was great, and the storylines were fun, and it was a fun show. Yeah, no, it was a fun show because the concept of Mitch Buchanan, lifeguard by day, you would think that would take up all of his time. But at night, he had this to make a little extra scratch. He became a private investigator, and I started watching it, and then suddenly it was like, a UFO landed on the beach. What? Yeah, it was pretty funny. I know.
It was real.
It was so fun. It was really neat because it was so different.
So, have you had an interest, and this is leading somewhere, but I'm assuming that we're probably around the same age, and you might remember a TV show called In Search of. Yeah,
with Leonard Nimoy, sure.
Right. And there was, I think, in the late 70s, early 80s, several episodes or a feature film regarding a search for Noah's Ark. Do you remember those specials?
Well, I'll tell you, the Leonard Nimoy series, In Search of, is completely unrelated to the film that came out in 1976 called In Search of Noah's Ark. It was unrelated to the Leonard Nimoy series. It just happened to say In Search of. That 1976 feature film, which was really a feature-length documentary that was in theaters, that was aired when I was in about 3rd grade, so I'm dating myself now. But that was that was the catalyst for my entire obsession with Noah's Ark. Starting in third grade was that film, In Search of Noah's Ark. And ever since then, it's been my dream since third grade to climb Mount Ararat in Turkey and search for Noah's Ark. Not necessarily find it. It's an enormous mountain, but to search for it. That's been my dream. And so I'm going to realize that dream this summer.
Now, as I understand it, you had planned to do this, I think, last year.
I did.
And then something went wrong? What exactly went wrong?
Nothing really. Well, what happened was I tacked on to my expedition. The purpose of my expedition is to search for Noah's Ark. Mm-hmm. And I've been researching it for decades. And I have a general idea of where it is. There's 3 exact coordinates on the mountain that I want to search, because those are the 3 coordinates that I feel the strongest pieces of it could be. Mm-hmm. At any rate, that's my objective. But then along the way, when I was talking with other people who also, it's their dream, it's been their lifelong dream to search for Noah's Ark, I hooked up with this person named Jeremy Wiles, mm-hmm. and it's his dream also. Well, he was telling me about a friend of his, or an acquaintance of his, who he climbed Mount Ararat with in 2010, I think, to search for Noah's Ark. And his name was Donald Mackenzie. He's a Scotsman. Mm-hmm. And in September 2010, Donald disappeared without a trace while on Mount Ararat searching for Noah's Ark. And no search party there's been no search for him. America hasn't searched for him, Scotland, and there's been no really official search party to search for this missing man. And so I decided that I wanted to search for him. He still has a mother and a brother and family he left behind. And nobody knows what happened to him, although foul play is suspected involving the PKK over there, okay. The Kurdish Workers' Party. At any rate, when I tacked that on to my expedition to help look for him first and then go search for Noah's Ark, mm-hmm. I started getting my Kurdish guide, pulled out. He canceled my permit, and he warned me not to search for him, not to even say his name. This was after I went public with my plans to do that.
Right.
And as the mission got closer, my dates neared, Jeremy ended up starting to get death threats. So he pulled out. He was going to climb with me and search for him as well. And then I was all on my own. And then I started being told and warned that there was an ambush waiting for me on the mountain there if I tried to search for Donald. So I pulled because I just felt my safety was at risk. And, I'm a single mom, and I couldn't compromise myself that way. So this time, although I am still going to be searching for Donald as well, I'm going to bring cameras and a lot more people, and I'm not going to be so public about it. I'm not going to do a big article about searching for him or anything, and I'm going to try it again. And we'll see how it goes.
I will say this: the idea that people would say to you, "Don't go, don't search for him, don't bring him up," that's really suspicious sounding. And
yeah, it is.
It
old worries me.
Yeah, the expression of where there's smoke, there's fire.
I want to do a documentary on the search on the disappearance of Donald Mackenzie, and so I'm going to be talking with people there, the last people that saw him, and I'm going to film some on the mountain as well. And I feel like that can afford me a little bit of protection because, I'll have people with me, witnesses, and a camera, and I think that'll afford me, more protection than just going over there by myself.
Well, let me ask you, is this happening before or after the Chiller Convention?
After.
Okay.
I'll be alive and intact at the Chiller Convention.
Well, this is the most interesting thing. I have to admit, I'm familiar with you from your TV work, and I had no idea until actually I went to your Facebook page, which, mm-hmm. by the way, is Donna D'errico. You can go and like it there, and she's you're pretty active on that page.
Yeah,
and
my Twitter also. I post both simultaneously.
And that's when I saw that you were doing some sort of you were on there saying something about getting in shape, like a PRX 90 type of workout.
That P90X thing? Yeah. That workout, it's a really grueling, hardcore workout. I've started doing that to try and start getting in the physical condition I need to be in to survive up there. Because although Mount Ararat in general is not a difficult climb, it's sort of like a grueling hike. That's on the south side, and if you stay on the Federation Trail, which is just a hard, grueling hike. But that's not where I'm going. The north side of the mountain is closed to everybody except for researchers and people that are, very few. There's maybe 20 people in the entire world that, number one, still believe in Noah's Ark, and number
Right.
two, want to look for it. And I'm one of those about 20 people. So there's constant avalanches and rock slides, and there's no paths, there's no hiking trails. It's just a lot of crampon and ice pick and ice axe type climbing, and it's not easy. So you really have to be in great physical condition to be able to survive it. It's 3 miles up, 17,000 feet in altitude. So the air gets thin, and you've got to be in great shape, which I'm not right now. So I'm training really hard to try to get there.
Well, I've seen recent photos of you, and you look quite nice on your on your Facebook page. But I mean, you need to be, I suppose, solid as a rock, muscular, in order to take on this challenge.
Yeah. I need to, and I was recently diagnosed with thyroid disease, so it makes it much harder because my energy is not there anymore, and I gain weight really easily. And it's a challenge to stay physically fit with thyroid disease. So I'm having to work, probably 3 times as hard as I used to before, when I was younger and didn't have any thyroid problems. So it's not easy.
I'll tell you what,
but I got to do it.
You've got more guts than I do, that's for sure. I mean, I also saw that movie. I thought it was the TV show, but you know how it is when you get older and you everything sort of fades into one thing.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing like photos from planes and all sorts of stuff, and I was always curious about that. And you're actually doing it, which is really, really commendable. My only the only thing I can say is just be careful.
Yeah, well, I'm taking all the precautions I possibly can, and doing all the training I can, and I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that I come back intact. Obviously, I have children that I have to think about, so I'm doing everything I need to do, to make sure that I'm safe.
Before I let you go, just on a lighter tack, do you have any projects? I mean, aside from this is obviously going to take up a great deal of your time, obviously.
Yeah.
But any film or TV projects lined up for this year?
There's a couple of things. There's a TV show that I'm not able to talk about right now, but that I'm going to be doing about a 9-episode arc on. Mm-hmm. And but I haven't finished the deal yet, so I can't discuss that yet. But there's also actually a thriller movie coming up that I'm supposed to be filming right before I go to
Chiller Convention,
Turkey.
yeah.
And then I'm also working on a cooking show that I'm going to be doing with my sister, and we're going to go out and pitch that soon. But really, my main focus right this second is preparing for Mount Ararat.
Well, I'm going to let you get back to preparing for Mount Ararat.
Okay.
I want to thank you, of course, for coming on the show and talking about this. Really fascinating, and I do want to mention to the listeners once again that you can meet Donna, along with Robert Loggia and Dean Cain and Danny Aiello and 89 other stars, over at the Chiller Convention in Parsippany, April 27th, 28th, 29th. Just go to the website, which is chillertheater.com. And thanks so much, Donna, and hopefully we're going to have you back when you've completed the mission.
Sure, I'd love to.
Yeah, and we'll follow up on that. Thanks so much, and you have a great night.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Right, bye-bye.